All right, guys, back here on Southeastern 14 with Max Barr. We are sharing our reaction to Saturday's action in SEC
Ooh.
basketball. Before we do that, Max, we will tell everyone about our friends at Bet Online. The NFL playoffs, of course, are here. NBA season is in full swing, and Bet Online, as always, has you covered with all the up to the second odds, news, and scores. Additional odds, lines, trends, info you can find on both desktop and mobile. You can access their world's famous wagering information at any time. So head there today, betonline.ag. Get in on the action, see all the updated odds. Remember, use our promo code BELIEVE, BLEAV, to receive your 50% welcome bonus on your first deposit. Bet online where the game starts. We won't bring up Max Barr's betting day on
Brutal.
Saturday.
Brutal.
A good thing because, otherwise it just would not be pretty. But let's talk about things that were not pretty. Let's start in Fayetteville, unfortunately. South Carolina 77, Arkansas 64. We all bought it. We
Mm.
all bought that the Texas A&M game. I probably bought it more than others. I apologize. But I think we all picked Arkansas from what I can
Yep.
remember, Max.
Yep.
And so we all bought that was going to be the thing against Texas A&M, game-winning shot that sort of changed, maybe not the entire season, but at least in the short term, changed the momentum for the Must Bus. Out of park into, I don't know, whatever gear you want to put it in. But it didn't happen because this was just a brutal performance from Arkansas. I'm not going to take anything away from South Carolina because they absolutely just came out and took it to them. I mean, they were up by 19 in the second half. Arkansas
You're-
once again
yeah.
never led in this game. I feel like that's been a theme this year where there have been a couple games where they just not found a way to even get a lead. And we said without Miles Studi, it could be challenging for South Carolina. And as always, I think in these kind of games, we usually revert to the home team. But
Yeah.
I mean, it's like we were wrong because yet again, it's like the magic of Bud Walton this year is not there because of how this Arkansas team is playing. And you had four guys in double figures for South Carolina. And one of them wasn't even Michi Johnson. So that's a plus for the Gamecocks. He only had 8, but he did have 7 rebounds in this one. Out rebounded Arkansas. Arkansas was 5 of 18 from 3. They only turned it over 5 times. Rarely you see a team get beat like that and only turn the ball over 5 times. I say all these stats to tell you this. None of it matters. Because
Nope.
why? It is here's the quote, all right? And Jeremiah Davenport, you can find a variation of this quote in a couple different areas, but I'm just going to use this one from Hit That Line, Arkansas, on Twitter. We definitely didn't have swagger today. Lack of effort all around. Sums it up to me. I don't have anything else to add. I mean, if that's what a player says, remember, what was it? Who was the other person that had the quote in the other recent game? Was it Minifield? We talked about it. I don't remember the exact quote, but
We did
I
talk
don't
about
remember.
it.
But
I can't think of it.
nonetheless, that to me
Right.
was tells it all here. I think for Arkansas.
Yeah. Musk, Bob's always, if you watch the Musk press conference, Bob's always the first one to ask a question and kind of just asked, hey, you had some swagger issues and you seemed to get it back last game. What kind of happened here out of the gate? And Musk was just once again, a running theme for these Musk press conferences, kind of at a loss for words and just was like, team has to play harder. I don't know what you want from me. Team has to play harder. You do have to credit South Carolina. I think Talon Cooper is one of the best guard defenders in the SEC right now. He is each time South Carolina plays a game, the opposing coach has something great to say about Cooper. He's physical, he's old, and he's really sound. He doesn't seem like he's ever, kind of like how I always talk about Zion Poland just being calm and collected and never really rushed. Same thing I'm seeing with Cooper, just solid. The one thing that I have a big issue with though is Brazil only takes 3 shots. I mean, what are we doing here? You got to be more aggressive than that. If you're, preseason first team, and I mean, I tweeted some individual matchups that I'm really excited for, and I was hunting down this Murray Boyles Brazil matchup, and I mean, look, advantage Murray Boyles. 11 points, 4 rebounds, 2 assists, a block. That, he just straight up played harder, straight up played more aggressive. And that's kind of been what we've been seeing with this Arkansas team. Hook, line, and sinker on that last game. Caught me, fell into the trap. Yeah. Bad taste in my mouth. But I mean, next up they do have an Ole Miss team that hasn't looked too good either. So winnable game next up for Arkansas if you want to look at it that way.
I don't know if I look at it that way because it's on the road, and
I'm trying to be positive.
Not to spoil the picks, but I don't know if I look at it that way. We'll see. Yeah, I mean, I thought there was just stretches that game where even like something as simple as just help defense was non-existent. Like the guy get beat, there's nobody there. And yeah, I mean that's what another quote from us, and it doesn't matter if you play zone, man, trap, the toughness and effort has to improve, like you said, and that's just. Man, I just can't believe that's the conversation we're having with this team as high as we were on them coming into the season. But again, South Carolina, again, apologize for not picking you. You're 15-3 now. You're feeling really good about yourself. Still in the NCAA tournament conversation. And what do they get next, Max? They get Kentucky on Tuesday at home. So huge opportunity for Lamont Paris and company on Tuesday. So we'll have a lot of fun previewing that one, I'm sure. Yeah. So big win for the Gamecocks on the road, taking care of business at Bud Walton. All right, on this next one, Tennessee 91, Alabama 71. I mean, man, even I, as the resident Alabama basketball guru here, said I am not picking Alabama in this game, Max. However, you were all in on the Crimson Tide.
I was.
Did not work out well for you.
I was.
Look, this game, I'll be honest, like, again, we make predictions for fun and all that. This game was about what I expected, like, because I thought that Tennessee defensively was going to frustrate Alabama. We talked about the Sears thing going in. You can tell me what you thought. I didn't think I saw 100% Mark Sears out there. That's not taking anything away from Tennessee. I just think it's pretty clear. And so, and I know he played 33 minutes, by the way. I know he scored 22 points, all that, but you could just sort of see in some of the movement, I think that he just was still not all. I think hesitant was the word the commentary team like that. At times just seemed more hesitant than usual. And maybe it is kind of one of those things we're just sort of thinking about it. But Tennessee controls the game defensively. I said it, if you're going in there thinking you're getting calls, like, with the physicality and those kind of things, Alabama has seen this year after year. Like, it's just, this Tennessee is a physical team. And as always, if you're the home team, sometimes, that physicality may go your way. Sometimes if not, it won't. And so I just thought it was going to be, are they going to be able to handle this? And I think it was clear early on, you could tell that Alabama was not adjusting well to the physicality of this game. They turned it over 22 times. And, turnover is something we had talked about Alabama, about being a little bit of a concern. At times I say, hey, it's just because the way they play. You're going to turn the ball over, just going at such a fast pace. Sometimes you're going to turn over. You're still going to have a lot of opportunities because you are getting those possessions. But 4-21 from 3, 22 turnovers, that's not going to get it done against Tennessee. And I also, one of the things I pointed out, I said, look, defensively, Alabama's gotten better. But Tennessee is just, they're a different offensive team this year. And I thought Tennessee exploited some of those defensive weaknesses too. And now, would I have predicted a 20-point game? Maybe not. But I did think this was just a bad setup for Alabama going in here, having to play this Tennessee team on the road. And just like Arkansas, Alabama never led in this game. It was all Tennessee from start to finish. And yeah, another impressive performance for the Vols.
Yeah, at this rate, if I pick your team to win, just start getting nervous.
Just get away. Just run.
Just
run away.
Worried.
Go all in on the other team.
Yeah.
And yeah, bet online, all in.
All in. I mean, this game, I was waiting for this thing for days. I thought this was going to be a great game. And yes, Mark Sears was a little bit hobbled. You could tell that the broadcast was on it. But I mean, still, this was domination, right? Nate Oates was asked on how hard it is to prepare for this defense. He goes, "It's impossible."
You can't replicate it even in you can't replicate it in practice. That's the thing. It's like you cannot replicate what Tennessee does. And I mean, again, this is back-to-back years now. in Knoxville. We've seen Alabama just not be able to adjust to how Tennessee plays. And I know some Alabama fans may say, well, officiating and fouls and all that. I get it, but still, it's the way they play. And you said it. I mean, it's just impossible to prepare for. So,
yeah, and I mean, this is an Alabama team that has played like 5 top 15 defenses nationally with Purdue, Creighton, Arizona, Mississippi State. Pretty sure not Liberty. Who was the Indiana State? No, their offense, but still, they've played
yeah.
teams that have ranked really high in these categories, and Tennessee just blew them out of the water. And how about a quiet 25 from Knecht? Like I felt like he could have done even more. I mean, it's ridiculous, but I actually think that not the biggest difference. Obviously, Knecht's the biggest difference, but something that's making this team so hard to defend is Jonas Aidoo coming out of the woodworks. I don't know who chose him in fantasy.
Jonas, Aidoo. We may talk about him on Monday, I
Nah,
believe.
I don't think so. But I mean, if you look at this guy's numbers in SEC play, over 16 points a game, just under 9 rebounds, 2.5 blocks a game. He's been amazing. And you saw against Mississippi State, he gets in foul trouble. He gets fouled out down the stretch. So he is so important to this team. Barnes said that Alabama had a great scout on him, though. Said that they were taking away his right shoulder, left hand, and it was forcing Aidoo to go to some of his secondary moves. Also, Jordan Gainey. I mentioned him in the preview. He breaks out of his 1 for 14 from 3 shooting slump. He's going to be a huge factor off the bench. If he can start giving him double digits off the bench, oh my gosh, just such a factor. And then lastly, we didn't even know this. This is kind of a running theme of us not knowing injuries and whatnot, but Josiah Jordan-James didn't practice this week. Didn't practice the past 2 days, had the flu. Barnes said that he didn't practice since the last game. Said that he just tried to get a little bit of a workout in like the night before the game, just try to get a little bit of a sweat broken. So, I mean, he wasn't even 100%. So, geez, Tennessee only has 1 game this next week. It's at Vandy on Saturday. For Bama, though, Blake, you've been talking about this Iron Bowl on Wednesday. Tough game to bounce back off of, though.
Yep, we will preview that one in full. Yeah, coming up this week, and like you said, Tennessee only 1 game this week, so yeah, we'll see how it unfolds. But a big win, dominant victory for the Vols in Knoxville. All right, on to this next one. Don't know that we'll have a lot to say about this one. Mississippi State 68, Vanderbilt 55. This was about as it looks. Not the most, I don't know, wasn't the prettiest game at times. That's probably a decent way to put it. But, again, it's kind of one of those where it felt like Vanderbilt still just like kept it within distance. Like, even though it was not, they lost by 13 and all that. But, yeah, I mean, this was kind of a game that we probably would have expected, Max. Like, Tolu Smith was going to be the X factor because it just didn't feel like Vanderbilt had anybody that could, do anything with him. And really, I'm trying to remember the splits, and you may have it better than I do, but I felt like he didn't have like the biggest first half. But then like the second half, he just completely took over. And I may be wrong about that, but I want to say I don't even know how many rebounds he had at halftime of this game. But he winds up with 11, goes 25 and 11 in this one, and only had 1 turnover. I think that's important too. Still missed some free throws, but hey, 25 points, like I said, 11 rebounds in 30 minutes. He was pretty dominant here, and that was kind of the story of the game. I mean, Mississippi State's still missing free throws. I feel like that's going to be the story this year, and that's going to worry you a little bit when they get in close games. It didn't matter here, but they do go 12 of 22 for 55%. So that is going to be a little concerning, like I said, as they play more close games. But Vanderbilt didn't really 5 of 22 from 3. They also missed 8 free throws. Again, it's just we said it. There's no reason to keep going on and on. I mean, any game I think Ezra Mannion only has 3 points, Vanderbilt's going to struggle to beat anybody. And so, yeah, this was just all Tolu Smith, and Mississippi State, pretty much in control of this game for throughout. So,
yeah, I think this is just kind of what we're going to have to expect with Vandy when they play these really physical teams like Mississippi State, A&M, Tennessee, they're just not going to be able to match up with them physically. I mean, they're only playing about 3 upperclassmen now with Evan, Taylor, Mannion, and Lawrence because Tassos is kind of fallen out of the lineup here. So yeah, I mean, you get JRT with his first start of the season, and he goes 1 of 7 from 3. Not his best showing, but I mean, I feel like Vandy's just kind of trying everything they can to see what works right now. Just playing different guys. You got guys getting their first minutes and weeks in this game and stuff like that. So I don't really know what to even say about them. They're kind of scratching and clawing right now. And for Mississippi State, yeah, good win, scrappy win. I think it was, I'm pretty sure it was DJ Jeffries, but I might be mistaken on the quote. But one of the Mississippi State players said, this is Mississippi State basketball. We're gonna make it ugly, and I love that. I love that as much as I love like watching Kentucky and watching these teams put up 100 and just fly up and down the court. There's a part of me that loves the gross bully ball scrappiness. There's just a sliver of me that just loves it. So yeah, free throw shooting 12 of 22 in a close game. That's going to kill you. We've seen it kill them before. So definitely an area of concern. You're not in these close games down the stretch here for Mississippi State, which they're going to have. They've got some tough ones coming up. You're gonna have to make free throws. So definitely an area of concern. But I mean, what do we expect from this game? It's pretty much what we thought was going to happen.
All right, Texas A&M 73, LSU 69. Trying to remember. I know I picked LSU. I'm trying to remember who'd you pick in this one.
I have no clue.
I know I picked LSU.
I think I picked LSU.
I think he may have picked A&M.
Let's just assume that if whatever the outcome is, I picked the opposite.
That's a good point. You're probably right. So let's just assume you picked LSU, and I don't know why I picked the same with you, but yeah. So A&M gets the win here. This was one that, boy, I feel like if you're LSU, this is one of those games you're gonna look back on and feel like it was sort of a missed opportunity because, again, I mean, it got off to a strong start, but you just kind of see how that game sort of played out beyond that initial little stretch. And yeah, like this was one where give A&M credit. I mean, I know you're going to pick on our guy Wade Taylor for his fantasy production, but still, again, just I don't know. This was a weird game. I'm trying to think about how if you didn't watch this game, how you sort of put it into what you actually saw. I mean, A&M hitting 10 threes is always going to be something that I think stands out, even though the percentages were not high. Can anybody in the SEC shoot free throws? Because A&M went 11 of 20 in this game for 55%. And the biggest difference here, and guess what, Max? Like we could just loop this every single game, is Texas A&M's ability to hit the glass and get so many extra chances. 21 offensive rebounds here in this game. And remember, this is the best offensive rebounding team in the country percentage-wise. So that was a big key. And I think, yeah, it was just one of those where, again, LSU hit 11 threes. And it's just, you look at it, how the game played out, like the difference statistically was the rebounding. And again, Wade Taylor with 19 points here, only played 21 minutes because I had foul trouble, right? I'm trying to think exactly how this game unfolded here, but only played 21 minutes. Radford had 15, Carter had 13, Garcia had 10. So get some other kind of balanced scoring, which usually, as we said, we look up and it's Taylor just going for 30 something. But maybe that was kind of the key here too for A&M in this one.
This game, I like how you started it with LSU. This is gonna feel like it slipped out because this game was a battle. I mean, is this the second? I think this is the second straight game where Texas A&M goes scoreless for the first 4 or 5 minutes.
Yeah,
second time in a row that they've put themselves in a hole. And they still, both times they still give themselves a chance to win. So I mean, just imagine if A&M makes just 2 baskets in the first 5 minutes. How much easier they would, or how much less pressure would be on them to come back. And they did all this with a quarter of Henry Coleman, 11 minutes, and he did not look like himself when he was out there. So I think the biggest story of this game was when you said how do you explain this to someone that didn't watch it? Well, Wade Taylor was in foul trouble for the whole first half. Barely played the first half. I think he had 0 at halftime. And ends with 19 and 5 rebounds, no turnovers, or 3 turnovers, but 4 assists. So I mean, that's why it was kind of a weird game, because you had A&M's best guy on the bench for basically the whole first half. I thought Solo Washington did a great job on Jordan Wright. We've been seeing Jordan Wright just kind of get to his spots and do whatever he wants lately. So Solo not getting into foul trouble for once is nice. But I tweeted it out, and I'm sticking to it. This Tyrell Ward on LSU, he needs more minutes. I love this guy. I love this guy when I watch him. I mean, he's 12 of 23 shooting 52% from 3 in conference. That's second in the conference for percentage. I love what I'm seeing from him. This LSU team is tough. They're gonna be tough, and they're gonna be scrappy, because I like Jalen Reed at 6'10". He can stretch the floor and shoot. This is a scrappy team. I like what LSU's got going on, but for A&M, I mean, just stop putting yourself in such a deep hole to start, and you can start having some not easy games, but just play with the lead for once. They got 3 home games coming up, 3 straight home games for A&M. So could see them turn a little bit of a corner here, but it was a weird game with some foul trouble and Coleman out. It was just kind of weird.
Yeah. I mean, to wrap it up, I may go against what you just said and say, you know what, if I'm A&M, just throw the ball off the backboard. Who cares about making shots? Because
it's their best offense.
27 second chance points in this game. I was trying to find the number. I knew I had it somewhere. 27 second chance points. LSU had 0. So there's your key. Like, there's your difference in A&M against defense down the stretch, along with the fact that LSU just could not get second chance opportunities and convert it into points. The biggest difference there. So, yeah, pretty wild, isn't it, to think about? Because if you look back, just, let's see. I'm trying to remember exactly what the numbers were. Remember, as we said, these two teams played a couple weeks ago, and I mean, yeah, LSU out rebounded A&M a couple weeks ago in that game. Yeah, so I think that's right. So, yeah, so I mean, that's the difference. And remember, as I said, A&M only hit 5 threes in that game too. Just shot the ball very poorly, and so this was a huge win on the road, I think, for A&M again, given where they want to go after a bit of a slow start in SEC play. So a huge win, and that's what I talked about previously. The schedule: A&M now gets Missouri, Ole Miss, Florida, all at home. 4 of their next 5 are at home, actually, with Tennessee coming up after that. And the road game is at Missouri, and then the road game after that is at Vanderbilt. So don't be surprised if we look up and A&M is near the top of the standings in 2 or 3 weeks, because their schedule sets up really nicely for them right now. All right. It's time, Kentucky fans. We've made it to this point, because we know you're here, and we know what you're here for. We know you're here for the Big Z show. Like, it's time. It's time to have this conversation, Max. Ooh. Kentucky 105, Georgia 96. You're not here to talk about the defense, I'll tell you that, but you're here to talk about Big Z. We'll hit on the defense maybe at some point, but I mean, we're all in the group chat texting like, Mac. I remember what Max says. Like, this is unreal. Like, what is happening right now? We're watching this guy out here, and it's like, who is this guy? He just comes off the bench casually in mid-January. He's eligible to play, and he comes in looking like an NBA MVP out there. Just throwing behind the back passes to the opposite side of the floor for 3-point shots. Knocking down, what is it, like 12 points in the first however many minutes? Like, I don't even remember, man. Just, I'll let you talk first, because I mean, this guy is something. He is. I know it's one game. I know people are like, hey, just calm down. It's okay. But no, when you watch a guy play, you can see it. 13 points in 16 minutes. He had 5 rebounds, 2 assists, 3 blocks, 2 steals. This guy did everything, and he only played 16 minutes. And remember, he joins a team that we have said, look how many guys they got. Well, Max, add another guy to the mix, because Big Z is here. He is free. And my goodness, did Kentucky look like, I mean, they had 96 points with 8 minutes left in the second half.
I couldn't believe my eyes. I honestly, I could not believe my eyes. Like I remember Twitter when Z makes that third straight three straight three, just comes out and casually goes 3 for 3 in like 2 minutes. That place, the roof exploded off the place. That place was going nuts. I don't know if I've seen a better atmosphere. Like Auburn's had some really great atmospheres, but that place was just unreal. Like I remember I follow a bunch of beat writers and accounts and stuff like that and the SEC, and every single Kentucky person I follow couldn't believe their eyes. What is happening? It felt like an out of body experience with how crazy it was. I mean, I can't imagine a better debut. And is there another team in the country that has this legit rotation of 3 7-footers? What with two of them able to shoot threes? What is going on? I mean, remember like June, July, when everyone was just panic button. We were like, guys, just hold the brakes off. Cal's gonna figure it out. We never expected this. This is insane. I mean, and DJ Wagner, first career double-double. He just keeps getting better with every game. Reed Sheppard is the best shooter in the country. Literally the best shooter in the country by effective field goal percentage and true shooting percentage. I mean, they're averaging 94 a game in SEC play. I think it's just I don't have analysis. I'm just amazed by how good the offense is. Now the defense, I will be the guy that says it still needs some work. Okay, I am here to do that also. 96 to Georgia. I think a little bit of it. You said what? I mean, they had.
I think. Look, they were up 96 to 68 with 8 minutes left. I think at that point, they took their foot off the gas. Yeah. Georgia scored. What is that? 28 points in the final 8 minutes. Like that's just.
Don't put.
I'm willing to attribute some of it to that, but I will also get further towards you and Chris's direction in that they do have to fix a couple of these things defensively if they're going to be a national championship type team.
So. But if they're putting up 94 a game, I mean,
right.
Somewhat
kind of the Alabama theory. Like it really is. When you look statistically at these two teams, there are some common denominators here. But yeah, I understand that part. But look, man, I'll give you the quotes here, okay? I'm gonna give you this first one from Cal, and then we'll continue on. One was he's got a ways to go, he said, but I told them, you know why he was wide open? Because they didn't think he could shoot threes. They had never seen him play, so it was a good start for him. So that is interesting, I think, to know is that, all right, teams now see what they have to deal with. But what you said, they see it. They understand what he's going to bring to this Kentucky team. But how do you guard him? When they got threes, like I said, they got 3 different guys they can rotate in and out, and you've just got so many different guys. I mean, who do you choose to guard? Do you guard Antonio Reeves? Do you guard Reed Sheppard? Do you guard Big Z? Like in terms of like the 3-point shooting, and that is why this team they have a chance to be so good the rest of the way, is because they're already a top 7 team shooting wise, shooting 40% from 3, which to me is still remarkable with this team. And yeah, like they don't turn the ball over. And that's something else too. Like that's the difference maybe if you look at with an Alabama is Kentucky doesn't turn the ball over. And, it's just they are so smooth offensively. And so that's just, man, this team is they got something now with Big Z. And so I'm going to give you this other quote, Max. I don't know if you saw this one. But
what do you
got? So this is from Tyler Thompson, Kentucky Sports Radio. Calipari on Big Z's debut. I knew he would be excited. I called equipment manager Mark Evans and told him to bring 2 pairs of white shorts so he didn't just have one. He may go in there and poop himself. There's the quote. So Cal was thinking ahead. He didn't know what Big Z was going to do out there, but I don't think any of us did either. Luckily, it wasn't the second part, and luckily the first part was him just going out and looking ridiculous. So,
Blake, you know what this team kind of reminds me of? And it's not the personnel, it's just the way that it's kind of built. Do you remember when Gonzaga had Zach Collins as a freshman off the bench, and everyone was like, they've got a lottery pick off the bench. It's insane. I'm not saying Reed Sheppard plays like Zach Collins, but just the way that they have lottery picks on the bench.
Yeah,
like those teams do damage. They do, and
yeah.
Man,
I mean, look, and keep in mind, remember, going into the season, there were a lot of people like Justin Edwards is going to be a top 3 pick in the draft next year. Like, and don't get me wrong, he's been good, but like, you just think about all the conversations we've had, right? It's almost been like an afterthought in
Yeah.
terms of like thinking of it that way. And that's just how talented they are. Pure talent. Like, just take all the other stuff off the table. Like, just pure talent. Like, it is something, man, to see what this team has. And now they add Big Z to the mix. Let's
And
see where Big Z sits in the fantasy draft this week.
woo.
Undraftable to undeniable for Big Z.
Also,
So,
real quick, just before we move on from this game, they still don't have Aidoo Thiero. Just
right. So, yeah.
huge
So they
piece
basically
of
go
what they
9
do.
deep. They go 9 deep against Georgia. You get him back, you're 10 deep, right? So they made me look like Auburn out there running
I
around. We'll get
know.
to Auburn in a minute. So, my goodness. All right. There you go, Kentucky fans. Let us know what you thought about Big Z. All right. On to the next one. Florida 79, Missouri
Florida.
67. The Gators. Did both of you guys pick Missouri in this one? I
I'm
think you
telling you,
did.
just if the
Man.
team lost, I picked them. Okay, that's the kind of week it's been.
Wow. Brutal. Brutal
I
for
don't
you
want
and
to talk
Chris. I'll tell you that. I picked the Gators. Of course, I was doing that, trying to do the reverse mojo. So I'm going to take too much credit for that. But Florida gets it done here. And I watching this game, I'm just looking at it and thinking, you know what? Again, this was one of those games that if you go in statistically and you try to figure out what's going to be the difference, I told you guys, I said, I just think Florida rebounding the ball is going
Yep.
to be the biggest difference, the size advantage. And look at what the big guys did, right? Like Handlogten goes for 10 points, 13 rebounds, adds a block.
He
Samuel
was
goes for
great.
7. Yeah, he was really good in this game. Samuel goes for 17 points. Didn't have as many rebounds as usual, only had 3, but has a block shot in there. And it just felt like, again, it felt like Florida was just getting what it wanted to get in a lot of instances. The free throw shooting still a little bit to be desired, 20 and 29, 69%. Nice there. But still, that was just something where it just felt like that the bigs were going to be the difference here. And when you look at it, Max, on the other side, Missouri gets 36 points from Tamar Bates in 34 minutes.
Whew.
But it's the same story, right?
Yep.
It's just you don't have enough offensive wiggle room like you did last year to where it's going to make up for some of the defensive and rebounding, deficiencies that you have. That was kind of the story I thought of this game. Missouri 3 of 16 from 3 in this one. So it was just a brutal stretch. And another team wasn't getting many second chance opportunities, only 4 offensive rebounds for the Tigers.
Yeah, and that 3 of 16 from 3, like that was a legit 3 of 16. It's not like they were wide
No.
open. Just it was tough to watch the shooting. I'm glad you brought up Handlogten because I have him circled on my notes. I thought that was his best game yet. That's
Yeah.
what they need out of him. That is exactly what they need out of him. That was his second double-double of the season, first in conference play. And I also thought Will Richard was great. I want him to be even more aggressive. I think when Will Richard has his offense going, that Florida's at their best. Riley Kugel keeps gaining confidence. The better he gets, the better this Florida team's going to get. Hey, first true road win of the season for Florida. First true road win. So you're breaking down mental barriers. We've kind of harped on Golden for not being able to win big games. I'm not going to say that this was a big game, but it is your first true road win. It's something that you have to win. And this is a Missouri team that had their back against the wall and in desperation mode. So I think this is a really nice result here for Florida. For Missouri moving forward, like, man, you're going to need to get some help. There's the offense is so, I mean, say Tamar Bates gets 36, today, and the next game Sean East gets 36. He's just not going to get enough help from the support. So, yeah, I mean, 2 straight road games here next week for Missouri. It's not going to get any easier. On the other hand, though, for Florida, they get 2 straight home games this week, so they could be turning a little bit of a corner here. We've said how much we like this roster for Florida, and if they can just gain some confidence and start putting a few wins together, we might see the talent kind of shine through here. So, yeah, Florida's growing on me quite a bit here, Blake. I'm liking what I'm seeing.
Yeah, they need to take advantage of their 2 home games this week,
They
Mississippi
do.
State and Georgia. But because after that, they're at Kentucky, at A&M, home against Auburn. So they really need to win these next two to kind of
Yeah.
stay in that range. And like we said, they've got to win a big game at some point.
Mhm.
Like to make the NCAA tournament, they got to win big games. So they're going to have opportunities in this little upcoming stretch, and so we'll see if they can pull it off for
This Mississippi
Missouri.
State game's huge.
Yeah, it's a huge game for
Huge
them.
game.
For Missouri, I don't want to go there just yet, but let me just say, you want to talk about teams that need to take advantage of their upcoming schedule. Missouri better do that. I know their next two are on the road at A&M and South Carolina, but after that, home against Arkansas at Vanderbilt. I don't want to bring up the word or the phrase, but like they got to win one of these because if you look at the back half of their SEC schedule, I'm searching right now and I'm not seeing a lot of opportunities.
Yeah.
So yeah, they're going to have to figure this out and get a win somewhere. They've had a couple close calls. I tend to think they're going to figure this out and at least
Might get
grind
Caleb
their
Drill
way.
back soon.
Yeah, I mean they got to have something extra
Yeah.
because the schedule's not easy the rest of the way. So even though I think we may have said it on paper, it could look like the easier schedule, but I don't know. I'm not sure
Yeah.
about that based on some of the results. So all right, let's get to this last one. Boy, this was in a game. Auburn 82, Ole Miss 59. To be honest, it was not this close. Auburn just once again, as they do every game, just complete domination here. They're up 35 with 8 minutes left in this game. The run they went on, I feel like it was one of those where like I don't remember where I was maybe checking the score of the NFL playoffs or whatever, and I flipped back over, and this was like just a couple minutes. Like it wasn't long at all. All of a sudden, it just goes from I don't even remember what it was. Like the lead just like that, right? All of a sudden, Auburn's up 25. Not even, I don't even remember. I think it was, okay, so here it was. It was the stretch where from 16:31, Auburn's up 17, 50 to 33 with 16:31 left in the second half. It's just, with 12:20 left in the second half, they're up 64-33. So in a span of 4 minutes and 11 seconds, they go on a 14-0 run. And all of a sudden, it goes from 17 to 31, right? So that's what they do to you. I said I did not like this setup for Ole Miss at all, just because they have not played well on the road. They're going into play what's been the most dominant team to this point, and I mean, like I'm kind of playing fun with this, but Auburn plays 15 guys here. Now I know 4 of them only played a minute. They came in at the end, but hey, depth, 15 guys step on the floor for the Tigers in this one. I mean, what else do we say, Max? It's like we said the same thing about Auburn all the time. It's just their depth, and they're talking about it again on the broadcast. You talk about earlier, we're like, you can't prepare for Tennessee's defense. You can't prepare for the depth that Auburn's going to throw at you. There's no way, because you don't know how they're going to mix and match certain rotations, different guys here or there. Like, think about this. Auburn wins this game just completely dominant. I know it's kind of one-sided, but think about it. In an SEC game like this, they don't play a single guy over 22 minutes. Not a single guy plays more than 22 minutes in this game. They just dominate. Now, again, the score part of that's the score line, but they don't have to. They have so many different guys that can play no matter the situation in the game. And that is why they are doing what they're doing right now. And they are just on a, I mean, I'm looking up the stats. Like I've been thinking about this since yesterday. Like this is like a historic type of run that Auburn is on right now based on the dominance that they are putting together in these games. So
yeah, I put out a tweet last night. In 5 games, just 5 SEC games, that's all they played, and they've played. This is at Bud Walton, which has historically been really tough to play. This is against Texas A&M. This is at Vandy, who Alabama only beat by 3. Like teams that usually make things scrappy, they're plus 95. Plus 95 in 5 games. That is crazy. Are you kidding me? Like the dominance, and it's not even like, oh, well, they're, teams aren't shooting well or they're catching teams that have injuries. No, it's like they are just beating teams down. This was a season high in turnovers for Ole Miss. We got to give more credit to the Auburn defense. They are like one of the best defenses in the nation. Right now, if you look at only conference play, just conference play, their defensive efficiency, that number that Ken Palm's spitting out is like top 5 in the country for the last 5 games. It's so hard to score on. Chris Beard actually said in his post game, he said it's so hard to score on this team. It is just brutally hard. Denver Jones plays elite on-ball guard defense. The one thing is, though, the one thing that I will say is that this team, and it's warranted, right? It's warranted because they're just absolutely dominating teams. But I don't want them to get too high. Don't go too high, don't go too low type of, you hear that being said by coaches a lot. And this team has the hardest week coming up. They got at Alabama, at Mississippi State. We've seen those are two tough places to play. So I'm really interested for this next week coming up. But I mean, what can you say? This team's looking like an NBA team with how they're playing right now, Blake.
Dominant are the Tigers, and like
Absolutely
you said,
dominant.
We will preview that game on Wednesday at Alabama. I'm sure that'll be interesting in terms of the reactions. We'll see who picks
Tom has that as a 1-point game right now.
In Alabama's favor.
Yes, they do.
Very interesting. So, no, Auburn, rinse, repeat. They do it again here. Another convincing performance.
Dominance.
For the Tigers there. All right, Max.
Ole Miss, real quick, though, I just want to say,
yeah.
we did say that this is kind of what we're going to see with this team. I think it's going to be, tough on the road. They're not going to be a good team on the road. And then they're going to be tough to beat at home. I mean, we still got to, remember this team put up 100 on Florida. I mean, hey, they've played 5 games. They've 2-0 at home, 0-3 on the road. Yeah, they get Arkansas at home on Wednesday. We'll see how that goes. But I think just from now on, kind of set your expectation at this for Ole Miss. If they're on the road, it's probably going to be tough sledding. If they're at home behind that crowd, probably going to be a good result for Ole Miss. That's just kind of how I'm out looking at this team now.
Yep, they get Auburn too in a couple weeks on February 3rd, so at home. So we'll see how it plays out. But there you go, guys. There are thoughts on Saturday's action in SEC basketball. As always, be sure to hit that subscribe button, hit the like button as well. That helps us out. Daily SEC basketball stuff here. Of course, we have SEC football stuff here, even in the off season. It never stops with football. So you can check all that out. We will have our power rankings. We will have the first ever live fantasy draft we will be doing. So you guys heard us talk about fantasy, drafting our teams on Twitter, like all sorts of stuff. We put it out there.
Last week was practice.
This was like the trial run. Now, wait a minute. I'm not calling it a trial run, and I'll tell you why on Monday. I'll tell you why it's not a trial run. But we're going to actually do the draft in a video, so you guys will be able to watch that. We'll give you the results from this past week and our fantasy stuff and all that. But power rankings, fantasy, game previews, reaction, all that. It's here at Southeastern 14. We appreciate you guys, as always, for watching, and we'll talk to you again here soon at Southeastern 14, presented by Bet Online.